Travels by the Fireside by H.W. Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The ceaseless rain is falling fast, and yonder gilded vane, immovable for 3 days past, points to the misty main. It drives me in upon myself, and to the fireside gleams, to pleasant books that crowd my shelf, and still more pleasant it dreams. I read whatever bards have sung of lands beyond the sea, and the bright days when I was young come thronging back to me. In fancy I can hear again the Alpine's torrents roar, the mule bells of the hills of Spain, the sea at Elsinore. I see the convent's gleaming wall rise from the groves of pine, and towers of old cathedrals tall, and castles by the Rhine. I journey on by bark and spire, beneath centennial trees, through fields with poppies all on fire, and gleams of distant seas. I fear no more the dust and heat, no more I fear fatigue, while journeying with another's feet, o'er many a lengthening league. Let others traverse sea and land, and toil through various climes. I turn the world round with my hand, reading these poets' rhymes. From them I learn whatever lies beneath each changing zone, and see when looking with their eyes better than with mine own. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fancies for Memories by A.H. Clough. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Fancies for Memories. Over the great windy waters, and over the clear crested summits, onto the sun and the sky, and onto the perfecter earth, come, let us go, to a land wherein gods of the old time wandered, where every breath, even now, changes to ether divine. Come, let us go, though withal a voice whisper, the world that we live in, whithersoever we turn, still is the same narrow crib. 'Tis but to prove limitation, and measure a chord that we travel. Let who would 'scape and be free go to his chamber and think. 'Tis but to change idle fancies for memories wilfully falser. 'Tis but to go and have been. Come, little bark, let us go. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cry of Ulysses by Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone on shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy Hades vexed the dim sea, I am become a name. For always roaming with a hungry heart, much have I seen and known, cities of men, and manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least, but honored of them all, and drunk delight of battle with my peers. Far on the ringing plains of windy Troy, I am a part of all that I have met.
Yet all experience is an arch wherethrough
gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Traveler by O. Goldsmith. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Remote, unfriended, melancholy, slow, or by the lazy Scheldt or wandering Po,
or onward where the rude Carinthian bore,
Against the houseless stranger shuts the door, or where Campania's plain forsaken lies, a weary waste expanding to the skies. Where I roam, whatever realms to see, my heart untravelled fondly turns to thee. Still to my brother turns with ceaseless pain, and drags at each remove a lengthening chain. In all my wanderings round this world of care, in all my griefs, and God has given my share, I still had hopes my latest hours to crown, amidst these humble bowers to lay me down, to husband out life's taper at the close, and keep the flame from wasting by repose. I still had hopes, for pride attends us still, amidst the swains to show my book-learned skill, around my fire an evening group to draw, and tell of all I felt and all I saw. And as a hare whom hounds and horns pursue, pants to the
place from whence at first
she flew, I still had hopes my long vexations past, here to return and die at home at last. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Travelled Among Unknown Men by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. I travelled among unknown men in lands beyond the sea, nor England did I know till then what love I bore to thee. 'Tis past, that melancholy dream, nor will I quit thy shore a second time, for still I seem to love thee more and more. Among thy mountains did I feel the joy of my desire, and she I cherished turned her wheel beside an English fire. Thy mornings showed, thy nights concealed the bowers where Lucy played, and thine too is the last green field that Lucy's eyes surveyed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Where Lies the Land by W. Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Where lies the land to which yon ship must go? Fresh as a lark mounting at break of day, festively she puts forth in trim array. Is she for tropic suns or polar snow? What boots the inquiry? Neither friend nor foe she cares for. Let her travel where she may. She finds familiar names a beaten way even before her, and a wind to blow. Yet still I ask, what haven is her mark? And almost as it was when ships were rare, from time to time like pilgrims here and there, crossing the waters, doubt and something dark of the old seas, some reverential fear is with me at thy farewell, joyous bark. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Passer-by by R. Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Whither, O splendid ship, thy white sails crowding, leaning across the bosom of the urgent west, that fearest nor sea rising nor sky clouding? Whither away, fair rover, and what thy quest? Ah, soon, when winter has all our vales oppressed, when skies are cold and misty, and hail is hurling, wilt thou glide on the blue Pacific, or rest in summer haven sleep, thy sails furling? I there before thee, in the country that well thou knowest, already arrived, am inhaling the odorous air. I watch thee enter unerringly where thou goest, an anchor queen of the strange shipping there, thy sails for awning spread, thy masts bare. Nor is aught from the foaming reef to the snow-capped grandest peak that is over the feathery palms more fair than thou, so upright, so stately, and still thou standest. And yet, O splendid ship, unhailed and nameless, I know not if, aiming a fancy, I rightly divine that thou hast a purpose joyful, a courage blameless, thy port assured in a happier land than mine. But for all I have given thee, beauty enough is thine, as though, aslant with trim tackle and shrouding, from the proud nostril curve of a prow's line, in the offing scatterest foam, thy white sails crowding. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. At Carnac by M. Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Far on its rocky knoll descried, St. Michael's Chapel cuts the sky. I climbed. Beneath me, bright and wide, lay the lone coast of Brittany. Bright in the sunset, weird and still, it lay beside the Atlantic wave, as if the wizard Merlin's will yet charmed it from his forest grave. Behind me on their grassy sweep, bearded with lichen, scrawled and gray, the giant stones of Carnac sleep in the mild evening of the May. No priestly stern procession now streams through their rows of pillars old. No victims bleed, no druids bow. Sheep make the furze-grown aisles their fold. From bush to bush the cuckoo flies. The orchis red gleams everywhere. Gold broom with furs in blossom vies. The bluebells perfume all the air. And o'er the glistening lonely land rise up all round the Christian spires. The church of Carnac by the strand catches the westering sun's last fires. And there across the watery way, see low above the tide at flood, the sickle sweet of Quiberon Bay, whose beach once ran with loyal blood. And beyond that the Atlantic wide, all round no soul, no boat, no hail, but on the horizon's verge descried hangs, touched with light, one snowy sail. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Grand Chartreuse by M. Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC.
Through alpine meadows, soft suffused,
with rain where thick the crocus blows, past the dark forages long disused, the mule track from St. Lawrence goes. The bridge is crossed, and slow we ride through forest up the mountainside. The autumnal evening darkens round. The wind is up and drives the rain, while hark, far down with strangled sound, doth the dead Guer's stream complain. Where the wet smoke among the woods over his boiling cauldron broods. Swift rush the spectral vapors white, past limestone scars with ragged pines, showing, then blotting from our sight. Halt! Through the cloud drift something shines. High in the valley, wet and drear, the huts of Courier appear. Strike leftward, cries our guide, and higher. Mount up the stony forest way. At last the encircling trees retire. Look through the showery twilight gray. What pointed roofs are these advance? A palace for the kings of France? Approach, for what we seek is here. Alight and sparely sup and wait.
for the rest in this outbuilding near.
Then cross the sward and reach the gate. Knock, past the wicket, thou art come
To the Carthusians' world-famed home.
End of poem.
This recording is in the public domain.
Hymn Before Sunrise in the Vale of Chamouni by S.T. Coleridge, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Hast thou a charm to stay the morning star in his steep course? So long he seems to pause on thy bald awful head, O sovereign Bloch. The Arve and the Aveyron at thy base rave ceaselessly, but thou, most awful form, risest from forth thy silent sea of pines, how silently! Around thee and above deep is the air and dark, substantial, black, and ebon mass. Methinks thou piercest it, as with a wedge. But when I look again, it is thine own calm home, thy crystal shrine, thy habitation from eternity, O dread and silent mount. I gazed upon thee, till thou, still present to the bodily sense, didst vanish from my thought. Entranced in prayer, I worshipped the invisible alone. Yet, like some sweet beguiling melody, so sweet we know not we are listening to it, thou the meanwhile wast blending with my thought, yea, with my life and life's own secreted joy, till the dilating soul, enwrapt, transfused into the mighty vision passing, there, as in her natural form, swelled vast to heaven. Awake, my soul! Not only passive praise thou owest, not alone these swelling tears, mute thanks and secret ecstasy. Awake, voice of sweet song! Awake, my heart, awake! Green vales and icy cliffs all join my hymn. Thou first and chief, sole sovereign of the vale, O struggling with the darkness all the night, and visited all night by troops of stars, or when they climb the sky or when they sink, companion of the morning star at dawn, thyself earth's rosy star, and of the dawn co-herald. Wake, O wake, and utter praise! Who sank thy sunless pillars deep in the earth? Who filled thy countenance with rosy light? Who made thee parent of perpetual streams? And you, ye 5 wild torrents fiercely glad, who called you forth from night and utter death? From dark and icy caverns called you forth down those precipitous black jagged rocks, forever shattered and the same forever? Who gave you your invulnerable life, your strength, your speed, your fury, and your joy, unceasing thunder and eternal foam? And who commanded, and the silence came, here let the billows stiffen and have rest? Ye ice falls, ye that from the mountain's brow adown enormous ravines slope amain, torrents, methinks, that heard a mighty voice, and stopped at once amid their maddest plunge, motionless torrents, silent cataracts, who made you glorious as the gates of heaven beneath the keen full moon? Who bade the sun clothe you with rainbows? Who with living flowers of loveliest blue spread garlands at your feet? God, let the torrents like a shout of nations answer, and let the ice plains echo, God. God, sing ye meadow streams with gladsome voice, ye pine groves with your soft and soul-like sounds, and they too have a voice, yon piles of snow, and in their perilous fall shall thunder God. Ye living flowers that skirt the eternal frost, ye wild goats sporting round the eagle's nest, ye eagles, playmates of the mountain storm, ye lightnings, the dead arrows of the clouds, ye signs and wonders of the element, utter forth God, and fill the hills with praise. Thou too, hoar mount, with thy sky-pointing peaks, off from whose feet the avalanche unheard shoots downward, glittering through the pure serene into the depths of clouds that veil thy breast. Thou too again, stupendous mountain, thou that as I raise my head a while bowed low in adoration, upward from thy base, slow travelling, with dim eyes suffused with tears, solemnly seemest like a vapory cloud to rise before me, Rise, O ever rise! Rise like a cloud of incense from the earth, Thou kingly spirit throned among the hills, Thou dread ambassador from earth to heaven! Great hierarch, tell thou the silent sky, And tell the stars, and tell yon rising sun, Earth with her thousand voices praises God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie by A. H. Clough. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Et donum saturae venit Hesperus. The skies have sunk and hid the upper snow. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. The rainy clouds are filing fast below, and wet will be the path, and wet shall we. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. Ah, dear, and where is he, a year agone, who stepped beside and cheered us on and on? My sweetheart wanders far away from me, in foreign land or on a foreign sea. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. The lightning zigzags shoot across the sky. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. And through the vale the rains go sweeping by. Ah me, and when in shelter shall we be? Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. Cold, dreary cold, the stormy winds feel they, O'er foreign lands and foreign seas that stray. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. And doth he e'er, I wonder, bring to mind The pleasant huts and herds he left behind? And doth he sometimes in his slumbering see The feeding kine, and doth he think of me, my sweetheart wandering wheresoe'er it be? Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. The thunder bellows far from snow to snow. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. And louder roars the flood below. Hey ho! But soon in shelter shall we be. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. Or shall he find before his term be sped Some comely maid that he shall wish to wed? Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. For weary is work and weary day by day To have your comfort miles on miles away. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. Or may it be that I shall find my mate, And he returning see himself too late? For work we must, and what we see, And God he knows, and what must be, When sweethearts wander far away from me. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. The sky behind is brightening up anew. Home, Rose, and Home, Provence and La Palie. The rain is ending and our journey too. Hey ho, aha, for here at home are we, In Rose and in Provence and La Palie. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
There Lies a Vale in Ida by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. There lies a vale in Ida, lovelier than all the valleys of Ionian hills. The swimming vapour slopes athwart the glen, puts forth an arm, and creeps from pine to pine, and loiters slowly drawn. On either hand the lawns and meadow ledges midway down hang rich in flowers, and far below them roars the long brook, falling through the cloven ravine in cataract after cataract to the sea. Behind the valley, topmost, Gargarus stands up and takes the morning, but in front the gorges, opening wide apart, reveal Troas and Ilion's columned citadel, the crown of Troas. Hither came at noon mournful Oenone, wandering forlorn of Paris, once her playmate on the hills. Her cheek had lost the rose, and round her neck floated her hair, or seemed to float in rest. She, leaning on a fragment twined with vine, sang to the stillness, till the mountain shade sloped downward to her seat from the upper cliff. O Mother Ida, many-fountained Ida, dear Mother Ida, hearken ere I die, for now the noonday quiet holds the hill. The grasshopper is silent in the grass. The lizard, with his shadow on the stone, rests like a shadow, and the cicala sleeps. The purple flowers droop, the golden bee is lily-cradled. I alone awake. My eyes are full of tears, my heart of love. My heart is breaking, and my eyes are dim, and I am all aweary of my life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Come Down, O Maid, by Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Come down, O maid, from yonder mountain height. What pleasure lives in height? The shepherd sang. In height and cold, the splendor of the hills, but cease to move so near the heavens, and cease to glide a sunbeam by the blasted pine, to sit a star upon the sparkling spire, and come, for love is of the valley come, for love is of the valley come thou down, and find him by the happy threshold he, or hand in hand with plenty in the maize, or red with spirited purple of the vats, or foxlight in the vine, nor cares to walk with death and mourning on the silver horns, nor wilt thou snare him in the white ravine, nor find him dropped upon the firsts of ice, that huddling slant in furrow-cloven falls, to roll the torrent out of dusky doors, but follow, let the torrent dance thee down, to find him in the valley, let the wild, lean-headed eagles yelp alone, and leave the monstrous ledges there to slope and spill their thousand wreaths of dangling water smoke, that like a broken purpose waste in air. So waste not thou, but come, for all the vales await thee, azure pillars of the hearth. Arise to thee, the children call, and I, thy shepherd pipe, and sweet is every sound, sweeter thy voice, but every sound is sweet. Myriads of rivulets hurrying through the lawn, the moan of doves in immemorable elms, and murmuring the innumerable bees. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Valley of Cauteretz by Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson. All along the valley, stream that flashes white, deepening the voice with the deepening of the night. All along the valley, where thy waters flow, I walked with one I loved 32 years ago. All along the valley, while I walk today, the 32 years were a mist that rolls away. For all along the valley, down the rocky bed, thy living voice to me was as the voice of the dead. All along the valley, by the rock and cave and tree, the voice of the dead was a living voice to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Current Calamo by A. H. Clough. Read for LibriVox by Lynda Neilson. Quick, painter, quick, the moment seize. Amid the snowy Pyrenees, more evanescent than the snow, the pictures come, are seen, and go. Quick, quick, Currente Calamo. I do not ask the tints that fill the gate of day, twist hill and hill. I ask not for the hues that fleet above the distant peaks. My feet are on a poplar bordered road, where the saddle and a load, a donkey old and ashen gray, reluctant works his dusty way. Before him, still with might and main, pulling his rope, the rustic rein. A girl, before both him and me, frequent she turns and lets me see, unconscious, lets me scan and trace the sunny darkness of her face, and outlines full of southern grace, following I notice, yet and yet, her olive skin, dark eyes deep set, and blacker than jet, the escaping hair that scantly showed, since o'er it in the country mode, for winter warmth and summer shade, the lap of scarlet cloth is laid, and then, back falling from the head, a crimson kerchief overspread, her jacket blue, thence passing down, a skirt of darkest yellow-brown, coarse stiff, allowing to view the smooth limb to the woolen shoe. But who? Here's some one following too, a priest, and reading at his book. Read on, O priest, and do not look. Consider, she is but a child, yet might your fancy be beguiled. Read on, O priest, and pass and go. But see, succeeding in a row, 2, 3, and 4, a motley train, musicians wandering back to Spain, with fiddle and with tambourine, a man with woman following seen. What dresses, ribbon ends, and flowers, and sight to wonder at for hours. The man, to Philip, has he sat, with butterfly light velvet hat. One dame his big basson conveys, on one his gentle arm he lays. They stop, they look, and something say, and to Espana ask the way. But while I speak and point them out, alas, my dear friends are gone. The dark-eyed maiden and the ass have had the time the bridge to pass. Vainly beyond it far descried, Aiden and peaceful with you abide. Grey donkey and your beauteous guide, the pictures come, the pictures go. Quick, quick, Currente, Calamo. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Cintra by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Lo! Cintra's glorious Eden intervenes, in variegated maze of mount and glen. Ah me, what hand can pencil guide, or pen, to follow half on which the eye dilates, through views more dazzling unto mortal ken than those whereof such hangs the bard relates, who to the awe-struck world unlocked Elysium's gates?
The horrid crags by toppling covenant crowned, the court trees hoar that clothe the shaggy steep, the mountain moss by scorching skies embrowned, the sunken glen whose sunless shrubs must sweep, the tender azure of the unruffled deep, the orange tints that gild the greenest bough, the torrents that from cliff to valley leap, the vine on high, the willow branch below, mixed in one mighty scene with varied beauty glow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Switzerland by A. D. Godley. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC.
In the steamy, stuffy Midlands, 'neath an English summer sky, when the holidays are nearing with the closing of July, and experienced Alpine stagers and impetuous recruits are renewing with the season their continual disputes, those inveterate disputes on the newest Alpine routes, and inspecting the condition of their mountaineering boots, you may stifle your reflections, you may banish them afar, you may try to draw a solace from the thought of noxious jar, but your heart is with those climbers, and you'll feverishly yearn to be crossing of the channel with your luggage labeled Burn, leaving England far astern with a ticket through to Bern, and regarding your profession with a lordly unconcern. They will lie beside the torrent just as you were wont to do, with the woodland green around them and a snowfield shining through. They will tread the higher pastures where celestial breezes blow, while the valley lies in shadow and the peaks are all aglow. Where the airs of heaven blow, 'twixt the pine woods and the snow, and the shades of evening deepen in the valley far below. They will scale the mountain strongholds that in days of old you won. They will plod behind a lantern ere the rising of the sun. On a grat or in a chimney on the steep and dizzy slope, for a foothold or a handhold they will diligently grope. On the rocky icy slope where will charitably hope 'tis assistance only moral that they're getting from a rope. They will dine on mule and marmot, and on mutton made of goats. They will face the various horrors of a Helvetian table d'hote. But where'er the path that lead them, and the food whereon they fare, they will taste the joy of living as you only taste it there, as you taste it only there in the higher, purer air, unapproachable by worries and obvious quite of care. Place me somewhere in the Valais, mid the mountains west of Bin and east of Savoy, in a decent kind of inn, with a peak or two for climbing and a glacier to explore. Any mountains will content me, though they're all been climbed before. Yes, I care not any more, though they've all been done before, and the names they keep in bottles may be numbered by the score. Though the hand of time be heavy, though your ancient comrades fail, through the mountains you ascend be accessible by rail. Though your nerve begin to weaken, and your gouty grown and fat, and prefer to walk in places which are reasonably flat, though you grow so very fat that you climb the Gorner Grat, or perhaps the little Skeedick, and are proud of that, yet I hope that till you die you will annually sigh for a vision of the Valais with the coming of July, for the Oberland or Valais, and the higher, purer air, and the true delight of living, as you taste it only there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Zermatt Churchyard by A. G. Butler. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. They warred with nature as of old with gods. The Titans, like the Titans, too they fell, hurled from the summit of their hopes, and dashed sheer down precipice tremendous crags. 1,000 deaths in one. 'Tis o'er, and we, who sit at home and by the peaceful hearth read their sad tale, made wise by the event, may moralize of folly and athirst for barren honor, fruitful of no end. 'Tis well we were not what we are without that cautious wisdom and the sober mind of prudence, steering calm to its rock and storm. Yet, too, methinks, we were not what we are without that other fiery element, the love, the thirst for venture, and the scorn that aught should be too great for mortal powers. Yet that one peak in all the skiey throng should rise unchallenged with unvanished snows, virgin from the beginning of the world. Such fire was theirs, oh, not for fame alone, that coarser thread in all the finer skein that draws a venture, oft by vulgar minds deemed man's sole aim, but for the high delight to tread untrodden solitudes and feel a sense of power, of fullest freedom lost in the loud vale where man is all in all. For this they dared too much, nor they alone, they but the foremost of the Alpine brand, who in the life of cities pine and pant for pure air, for peak and pass and glen, with slow majestic glacier born today, yet with the trophies of 1,000 years on its scarred bosom, till its icy bonds it burst, and a rush of torrent to the main. Such sons still hast thou, England, be thou proud to have them, relics of thy younger age, nor murmur if not all at once they take the care and burden on them. Learn of them. Youth has its teaching too, as well as age. We grow too old too soon. The flaxen head of childhood apes experience hoary crown, and prudent lips ungraceful aged saws. 'Tis so, here in Zermatt, here beneath the fatal peak, beside the heaving mound that bears the black cross with the golden names of men our friends upon it, here we fain would preach a soberer lesson. Forth they went, fearless and gay, to a festival. One clear cold morn they climbed the virgin height. They stood where still the awestruck gazer's eye shudders to follow. There is a little while they spake of home, that centre whose wide arms hold us where'er we are, in joy or woe, on earth, in air, and far on stormy seas. Then they turned homeward, yet not to return. It was a fearful place, and as they crept fearfully down the giddy steep, there came a slip, no more, one little slip, and down, linked in a living avalanche, they fell, brothers in hope, in triumph, and in death. Nor dying were divided, one remained to tell their story and to bury them. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Zermatt by Thomas Hardy. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Zermatt to the Matterhorn. June-July 1897. 32 years since, up against the sun, 7 shapes, thin atomies to lower sight, laboringly leapt and gained thy gabled height, and 4 lives paid for what the 7 had won. They were the first by whom the deed was done, and when I look at thee, my mind takes flight to that day's tragic feat of manly might, as though, till then, of history thou hadst none. Yet ages ere men top thee, late and soon thou didst behold the planets lift and lower. Saw'st, maybe, Joshua's pausing sun and moon, and the betokening sky when Caesar's power approached its bloody end, yea, even that noon when darkness filled the earth till the 9th hour. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Natura Maligna
by T. Watts-Dunton.
Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. The Lady of the Hills with crimes untold followed my feet with azure eyes of prey. By glacier brink she stood, by cataract spray. When mists were dire or avalanche echoes rolled, at night she glimmered in the death wind cold. And if a footprint shone at break of day, my flesh would quail, but straight my soul would say, 'Tis hers whose hand God's mightier hand doth hold. I trod her snow bridge, for the moon was bright, her icicle arch across the sheer crevasse, when lo, she stood, God made her let me pass. Then felled the bridge. Oh, there is sallow light. There down the chasm I saw her cruel white, and all my wondrous days as in a glass. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Natura Benigna by T. Watts-Dunton. What power is this? What witchery wins my feet? To peaks so sheer they scorn the cloaking snow, all silent as the emerald gulfs below, down whose ice walls the wings of twilight beat. What thrill of earth and heaven, most wild, most sweet? What answering pulse that all the senses know, comes leaping from the ruddy eastern glow, where far away the skies and mountains meet? Mother, 'tis I reborn, I know thee well, that throb I know and all its prophecies. O Mother and Queen, beneath the olden spell of silence, gazing from thy hills and skies, dumb Mother, struggling with the years to tell
The secret at thy heart through helpless eyes.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Samplon Pass by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Brook and road were fellow travellers in this gloomy pass, and with them did we journey several hours at a slow step. The immeasurable height of woods decaying, never to be decayed, the stationary blasts of waterfalls, and in the narrow rent, at every turn, winds thwarting winds, bewildered and forlorn, the torrents shooting from the clear blue sky, the rocks that muttered close upon our ears, black drizzling crags that spake by the wayside as if a voice were in them, the sick sight and giddy prospect of the raving stream, the unfettered clouds and region of the heavens, tumult and peace, the darkness and the light, were all like workings of one mind, the features of the same face, blossoms upon one tree, characters of the great apocalypse, the types and symbols of eternity, of first and last and midst, and without end. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Obermann by M. Arnold. LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. 1. In front the awful Alpine track crawls up its rocky stair. The autumn storm winds drive the wrack close o'er it in the air. Behind are the abandoned bass, mute in their meadows lone. The leaves are on the valley pass, the mists are on the Rhone. The white mist rolling like a sea, I hear the torrents roar. Yes, Obermann, all speaks of thee, I feel thee near once more. How often where the slopes are green, on Jaman hast thou sate by some high chalet door, and seen the summer day grow late, and darkness steal o'er the wet grass, with the pale crocus starred, and reach that glimmering sheet of glass beneath the piny sward, Lake Leman's waters far below, and watch the rosy light fade from the distant peaks of snow, and on the air of night heard accents of the eternal tongue through the pine branches play. Listened and felt thyself grow young, listened and wept, away! Away the dreams that but deceive, and thou, sad guide, adieu! I go, fate drives me, but I leave half of my life with you. 2. Gleon? Ah, 20 years it cuts all meaning from a name. White houses prank where once were huts, Gleon, but not the same. And yet I know not, all unchanged, the turf, the pines, the sky, the hills in their old order ranged, the lake with Chilion by. And 'neath those chestnut trees where stiff and stony mounts the way, their crackling husk heaps burn as if I left them yesterday. Across the valley, on that slope, the huts of Avant shine. Its pines under their branches ope, ways for the tinkling kine. Full foaming milk pails alpine fair, sweet heaps of fresh cut grass, invite to rest the traveller there, before he climb the pass. The gentian flowered pass, its crown with yellow spires aflame, whence drops the path to Alliard down, and walls where Byron came. Still in my soul the voice I heard of Obermann away. I turned, by some vague impulse stirred, along the rocks of Nay, and Sunchild's piny flanks I gaze, and the blanched summit bare of mallard trait to where in haze the Vale opens fair, and the dome Velin with his snows behind the upcrowding hills doth all the heavenly opening close, which the Rhone's murmur fills. And glorious there without a sound, across the glimmering lake, high in the valley depth profound, I saw the morning break. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
The Terrace at Burn by M. Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Melanie T. 10 years, and to my waking eye once more the roofs of Burn appear, the rocky banks, the terrace high, the stream, and do I linger here? The clouds are on the Oberland, the Jungfrau snow looks faint and far, but bright are those green fields at hand, and through those fields comes down the Aar. And from the blue twin lakes it comes, flows by the town, the churchyard fair, and 'neath the garden walk it hums, the house and is my Marguerite there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Never or Nevermore by J. A. Symonds. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Never, oh nevermore, shall I behold a sunrise on the glacier, stars of morn, paling in primrose round the crystal horn, soft curves of crimson melting into gold, or sapphire chasm and silvery snowfield cold, fire that o'erfloods the horizon, beacons borne, from wind-worn peak to storm-swept peak forlorn, clear hallelujah through heaven's arches rolled. Never, oh never more these feet shall feel the firm elastic tissue of upland turf, or crisp edge of the high rocks, or cling where the embattled cliffs beneath them reel, through cloud wreaths eddying like the Atlantic surf, far, far above the wheeling eagle's wing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Happy is England by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Happy is England. I could be content to see no other verdure than its own, to feel no other breezes than are blown through its tall woods with high romances blent. Yet do I sometimes feel a languishment for skies Italian, and an inward groan to sit upon an Alp as on a throne, and half forget what world or worldling meant. Happy is England. Sweet her artless daughters, enough their simple loveliness for me, enough their whitest arms in silence clinging. Yet do I often warmly burn to see beauties of deeper glance, and hear their singing, and float with them about the summer waters. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Daisy by Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Written at Edinburgh. O love, what hours were thine and mine? In lands of palm and southern pine, in lands of palm, of orange blossom, of olive, aloe, and maize and vine. What Roman strength Turbia showed in ruin by the mountain road, how like a gem beneath the city of little Monaco basking glowed, how richly down the rocky dell the torrent vineyard streaming fell, to meet the sun and sunny waters that only heaved with a summer swell. What slender campanelli grew by bays the peacock's neck in hue, where, here and there on sandy beaches, a milky-belled amaryllis blew. How young Columbus seemed to rove, yet present in his natal grove, now watching high on mountain cornice, and steering now from a purple cove, now pacing mute by ocean's rim, till, in a narrow street and dim, I stayed the wheels at Cogoletto, and drank, and loyally drank to him. Nor knew we well what pleased us most, not the clipped palm of which they boast, but distant colour, happy hamlet, a mouldered citadel on the coast, or tower, or high hill covent seen, a light amid its olives green, or olive ourie cape in ocean, or rosy blossom in hot ravine, where oleanders flushed the bed of silent torrents, gravel spread, and crossing, oft we saw the glisten of ice far up on a mountain head. We loved that hall, though white and cold, those niche shapes of noble mould, a princely people's awful princes, the grave, severe Genovese of old. At Florence, too, what golden hours in those long galleries were ours! What drives about the fresh Cascine, or walks in Boboli's ducal bowers, in bright vignettes, and each complete, of tower or duomo sunny sweet, or palace, how the city glittered through cypress avenues at our feet. But when we cross the Lombard plain, remember what a plague of rain at Reggio, rain at Parma, at Lodi, rain, Piacenza, rain. And stern and sad, so rare the smiles of sunlight looked the Lombard piles, porch pillars on the lion resting, and sombre, old, colonnaded aisles. O Milan, O the chanting choirs, the giant windows' blazoned fires, the height, the space, the gloom, the glory, a mount of marble, 100 spires. I climbed the roofs at break of day, sun-smitten Alps before me lay. I stood among the silent statues, and statued pinnacles, mute as they. How faintly flushed, how phantom fair, was Mount Rosa hanging there, 1,000 shadowy penciled valleys, and snowy dells in a golden air. Remember how we came at last to Como, shower and storm and blast had blown the lake beyond his limit, and all was flooded, and how we passed from Como when the light was grey, and in my head for half the day the rich Virgilian rustic measure of Larry Maxim all the way, like ballad Bertherin music, kept, as on the Lariano crept, to that fair port below the castle of Queen Theolinde, where we slept, or hardly slept, but watched awake, a cypress in the moonlight shake, the moonlight touching o'er a terrace, one tall agave above the lake. What more? We took our last adieu, and up the snowy Splurgeon drew. But ere we reached the highest summit, I plucked a daisy, I gave it you. It told of England then to me, and now it tells of Italy. O love, we two shall go no longer to lands of summer across the sea. So dear a life your arms enfold, whose crying is a cry for gold. Yet here tonight in this dark city, when ill and weary, alone and cold, I found, though crushed too hard and dry, this nursling of another sky, still in the little book you lent me, and where you tenderly laid it by. And I forgot the clouded forth, the gloom that saddens heaven and earth, the bitter east, the misty summer, and grey metropolis of the north. Perchance to lull the throbs of pain, perchance to charm a vacant brain, perchance to dream you still beside me, my fancy fled to the south again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cadenabia by H. W. Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Lake of Como. No sound of wheels or hoof-beat breaks the silence of the summer day,
As by the loveliest of all lakes I while the idle hours away. I pace the leafy colonnade, Where level branches of the plain Above me weave a roof of shade, Impervious to the sun and rain. At times a sudden rush of air Flutters the lazy leaves o'erhead, And gleams of sunshine toss and flare Like torches down the path I tread. By Samaria's garden gate I make the marble stairs my seat, And hear the water as I wait, Lapping the steps beneath my feet. The undulation sinks and swells Along the stony parapets, And far away the floating bells Tinkle upon the fishers' nets. Silent and slow by tower and town The freighted barges come and go, Their pendant shadows gliding down By town and tower submerged below. The hills sweep upward from the shore, With villas scattered one by one Upon their wooded spurs, and lower Bellagio blazing in the sun. And dimly seen a tangled mass Of walls and woods of light and shade Stands beckoning up the Stelvio pass, Varenna with its white cascade. I ask myself, is this a dream? Will it all vanish into air? Is there a land of such supreme And perfect beauty anywhere? Sweet vision, do not fade away. Linger until my heart shall take Into itself the summer day And all the beauty of the lake. Linger until upon my brain Is stamped an image of the scene, Then fade into the air again And be as if thou hast not been. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Verona by W.S. Landor. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, B.C. Verona, thy tall gardens stand erect, Beckoning me upward. Let me rest awhile, Where the birds whistle hidden in the boughs, Or fly away when idlers take their place, Mated as well, concealed as willingly. Idlers whose nests must not swing there, but rise Beneath a gleaming canopy of gold, Amid the flight of cupids and the smiles Of Venus ever radiant o'er their couch. Here would I stay, here wander, slumber here, Nor pass into that theatre below, Crowded with their faint memories, shades of joy. But ancient song arouses me, I hear Coleus and Euphlina I behold, Lesbia and Lesbia's linnet at her lip, Pecking the fruit that ripens and swells out For him whose song the Graces love the most. Whatever land, east, west, they visited, Even he must not detain me. One there is Greater than he, of broader wing, of swoop, Sublimer. Open now that human arch, Where Juliet sleeps the quiet sleep of death, And Romeo sinks aside her. Fare ye well, lovers! Ye have not loved in vain. The hearts Of millions throb around ye. This lone tomb, One greater than yon walls have ever seen, Greater than Manto's prophet eye foresaw, In her own child or Rome's half hallowed, And the last sod or stone a pilgrim knee Shall press, love swears it, and swears true, is here. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Apennine by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. The Apennine. Once more, upon the woody Apennine, the infant Alps which, had I not before gazed on their mightier parents, where the pine sits on more shaggy summits, and where roar the thundering Lawine, might be worshipped more. But I have seen the soaring Jungfrau rear her never trodden snow, and seen the hoar glaciers of bleak Mont Blanc both far and near, and in Chamari heard the thunder hills of fear, the Acro-Ceronian mountains of old name, and on Parnassus seen the eagles fly like spirits of the spot as 'twere for fame, for still they soared unutterably high. I have looked on Ida with a Trojan's eye, Athos, Olympus, Etna, Atlas made. These hills seem things of lesser dignity, all save the lone Surratt's height displayed, not now in snow, which asked the lyric Roman's aid. For our remembrance, and from out the plain, heaves like a long swept wave about to break, and on the curl hangs pausing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Where Upon Apennine Slope by A. H. Clough. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, B.C. Where, upon Apennine slope, with the chestnut, the oak trees immingle, where, amid odorous copse bridle paths wander and wind, where, under mulberry branches, the diligent rivulet sparkles, or amid cotton and maize peasants their waterworks ply, where, over fig tree and orange in tier upon tier still repeated, garden on garden upreared, balconies step to the sky, ah, that I were far away from the crowd and the streets of the city, under the vine trellis laid, O my beloved, with thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
De Gustibus by Robert Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Eva Davis. De Gustibus. 1. Your ghost will walk, you lover of trees, if our loves remain, in an English lane, by a cornfield side, aflutter with poppies. Hark those two in the hazel coppice, a boy and a girl, if the good fates please, making love, say, the happier they. Draw yourself up from the light of the moon, and let them pass, as they will too soon, with the bean-flower's boon, and the blackbird's tune, and May, and June. 2. What I love best in all the world is a castle, precipice uncurled, in a gash of the wind-grieved Apennine. Or look for me, old fellow of mine, if I get my head from out the mouth of the grave, and loose my spirit's bands, and come again to the land of lands. In a seaside house to the farther south, where the baked cicalas die of drouth, and one sharp tree, 'tis a cypress, stands, by the many hundred years red rusted, rough iron-spiked, ripe fruit o'er-encrusted, my sentinel to guard the sands to the water's edge. For what expands before the house but the great opaque blue breadth of sea without a break? While in the house forever crumbles some fragment of the frescoed walls, from blisters where a scorpion sprawls. A girl barefooted brings and tumbles down on the pavement, green flesh melons, and says, "There's news today. The king was shot at, touched in the liver wing, goes with his bourbon arm in a sling. She hopes they have not caught the felons." Italy, my Italy, Queen Mary's saying serves for me. when fortune's malice lost her Calais. Open my heart, and you will see, graved inside of it, Italy. Such lovers old are I and she. So it always was, so shall ever be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Venice by S. Rogers. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. There is a glorious city in the sea. The sea is in the broad, the narrow streets, ebbing and flowing, and the salt seaweed clings to the marble of her palaces. No track of men, no footsteps to and fro, lead to her gates. The path lies o'er the sea, invisible, and from the land we went, as to a floating city, steering in, and gliding up her streets as in a dream, so smoothly, silently, by many a dome, moss-like, and many a stately portico. The statues ranged along an azure sky, by many a pile in more than eastern pride, of old the residence of merchant kings. The fronts of some, though time had shattered them, still glowing with the richest hues of art, as though the wealth within them had run o'er. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ocean's Nursling by P.B. Shelley. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson. Underneath day's azure eyes, Ocean's nursling, Venice lies, a peopled labyrinth of walls, emperor Tite's destined halls, which her hoary sire now paves with his blue and beaming waves. Lo, the sun upsprings behind, broad, red, radiant, half reclined, on the level, quivering line of the waters crystalline, and before the chasm of light, and within a furnace bright. Column, tower, and dome, and spire shine like obelisks of fire, pointing with inconsistent motion from the altar of dark ocean to the sapphire-tinted skies, and the flames of sacrifice from the marble shrines did rise, as to pierce the dome of gold, where Apollo spoke of old, sun-girt city thou hast been, Ocean's child, and then his queen. Now is come a darker day, and thou soon must be his prey, if the power that rides thee here hallow so thy watery bier. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Venice by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I stood in Venice on the Bridge of Sighs, a palace and a prison on each hand. I saw from out the wave her structures rise, as for the stroke of the enchanter's wand. 1,000 years their cloudy wings expand around me, and a dying glory smiles o'er the far times when many a subject land looked to the winged lion's marble piles, where Venice sate in state, throned on her 100 isles. She looks a sea Cybele, fresh from ocean, rising with her tiara of proud towers, an airy distance with majestic motion, a ruler of the waters and their powers. And such she was, her daughters had their dowers from spoils of nations, and the exhaustless east poured in her lap all gems in sparkling showers. In purple was she robed, and of her feast monarchs partook, and deemed their dignity increased. In Venice Tasso's echoes are no more, and silent rose the songless gondolier. Her palaces are crumbling to the shore, and music meets not always now the ear. Those days are gone, but beauty still is here. States fail,
Arts fade, but nature doth not die, nor yet forget how Venice once was dear, the pleasant place of all festivity, the revel of the earth, the mask of Italy. But unto us she hath a spell beyond her name and story, and her long array of mighty shadows whose dim forms despond above the dodgeless city vanished sway. Ours is a trophy which will not decay, with the Rialto, Shylock, and the Moor, and Pierre, cannot be swept or worn away. The keystones of the arch, though all were o'er, for us repeopled were the solitary shore. The spouseless Adriatic mourns her lord, an annual marriage now no more renewed. The buxom Ture lies rotting unrestored, neglected garment of her widowhood. St. Mark yet sees his lion where he stood stand, but in mockery of his withered power, over the proud place where an emperor sued, and monarchs gazed and envied in the hour when Venice was a queen with an unequaled dower. Before St. Mark still glows his steeds of brass, their gilded collars glittering in the sun. But is not Doria's menace come to pass? Are they not bridled, Venice, lost and won? Her 1,300 years of freedom done, sinks like a seaweed into whence she rose. Better be whelmed beneath the waves and shun, even in destruction's death, her foreign foes, from whom submission wrings an infamous repose. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
At Venice by A.H. Clough. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. On the Lido. On her still lake the city sits, while bark and boat beside her flits, nor hears her soft siesta taking the Adriatic billows breaking in the piazza at night. O beautiful beneath the magic moon to walk the watery way of palaces, O beautiful o'er vaulted with gem blue, this spacious court, with color and with gold, with cupolas and pinnacles and points, and crosses multiplex, and tips and balls, wherewith the bright stars unreproving mix, nor scorned by hasty eyes to be confused. Fantastically perfect this lone pile of oriental glory, these long ranges of classic chiseling, this gay flickering crowd, and the calm campanile, beautiful, oh beautiful. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Florence by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Arno wins us to the fair white walls, where the Etrurian Athens claims and keeps a softer feeling for her fairy halls. Girt by her theatre of hills, she reaps her corn and wine and oil, and plenty leaps to laughing life with her redundant horn. Along the banks where smiling Arno sweeps was modern luxury of commerce born, and buried learning rose, redeemed to a new morn. There too the goddess loves in stone, and fills the air around with beauty. We inhale the ambrosial aspect which, beheld, instills part of its immortality. The veil of heaven is half undrawn. Within the pale we stand, and in that form and face behold what mind can make, when nature's self would fail, and to the fond idolaters of old envy the innate flash which such a soul could mould. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Invitation to Rome by F. Locker-Lampson. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Oh, come to Rome, it is a pleasant place. Your London sun is here seen shining brightly. The Briton, too, puts on a cheery face, and Mrs. Bull is suave and even sprightly. The Romans are a kind and cordial race, the women charming if one takes them rightly. I see them at their doors as day is closing, more proud than the duchesses, and more imposing.
A far niente.
Life promotes the graces. They pass from dreamy bliss to wakeful glee, and in their bearing and their speech one traces a breadth of grace and depth of courtesy that are not found in more inclement places. Their clime and tongue seem much in harmony. The Cockney met in Middlesex or Surrey is often cold and always in a hurry. Though
far niente
is their passion, they seem here most eloquent in things most slight. No matter what it is they have to say, the manner always sets the matter right. And when they've plagued or pleased you all the day, they sweetly wish you a most happy night. Then, if they fib, and if their stories tease you, 'tis always something that they've wished to please you. O come to Rome, nor be content to read alone of stately palaces and streets, whose fountains ever run with joyful speed, and never ceasing murmur. Here one meets great monoliths, or gay with weed, rich capitals as cornerstones or seats, the sites of vanished temples, where now moulder
old ruins, hiding ruin even older.
Come and see the pictures, statues, churches, although the last are commonplace or florid. Some say 'tis here that the superstition perches. Myself, I'm glad the marbles have been quarried. The sombre streets are worthy your researches. The ways are foul, the lava pavements horrid, but pleasant sights that squeamishness disparages are missed by all who roll about in carriages. About one fane I deprecate all sneering, for during Christmas time I went there daily, amused or edified or both, by hearing the little preachers of the Oracoli conceive a 4-year-old bambina rearing her small form on a rostrum, tricked out gaily, and lip-sing for what doctrine may be frightful, with action quite dramatic and delightful. O come, we'll charter such a pair of nags, the country's better seen when one is riding. We'll roam where yellow Tiber speeds or lags at will, the aqueducts are yet bestriding, with giant march, now whole, now broken crags, with flowers plumed, the swelling and subsiding Campagna, girt by purple hills afar that melt in light beneath the evening star. A drive to Palestrina will be pleasant. The wild fig grows where erst her turrets stood. There oft, in goatskins clad, a sunburnt peasant, like Pan, comes frisking from his ilex wood, and seems to wake the pastime in the present. Fair contadina, mark his mirthful mood. No antique satyr he, the nimble fellow, can join with joyety your saltarello. Old sylvan peace and liberty, the breath of life to unsophisticated man. Here mirth may pipe, here love may weave his wreath. Per darl mio bin, when you can, come share their leafy solitudes. Grim death and time are grudging of life's little span. One time speeds lightly o'er the waving corn. Death grins from yonder cynical old thorn. I dare not speak of Michelangelo. Such theme were all too splendid for my pen. And if I breathe the name San Zeno, the brightest of Italian gentlemen, it is that love casts out my fear, and so I claim with him a kindership. Ah, when
we love, the name is on our hearts engraven, as is thy name, my own dear bard of Avon.
Nor is the Colosseum theme of mine, 'twas built for poet of a larger daring. The world goes there with torches, I decline, thus to affront the moonbeams with their flaring. Some day in May our forces will combine, just you and I, and try a midnight airing. And then I'll quote this rhyme to you, and then you'll muse upon the vanity of men. Oh come, I send a leaf of tender fern, 'twas plucked where beauty lingers round decay. The ashes buried in a sculptured urn are not more dead than Rome, so dead today. That better time for which the patriots yearn enchants the gaze, again to fade away. They wait and pine for what is long denied, and thus I wait till thou art by my side. Though you're far away, yet while I write, I still seem gently, sweet, to press thy hand in mine. I cannot bring myself to drop the quill, I cannot yet thy little hand resign. The plain is fading into darkness chill, the Sabine peaks are flushed with light divine. I watch alone, my fond thought wings to thee. O come to Rome, O come to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Colosseum by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I do remember me that in my youth, when I was wandering upon such a night, I stood within the Colosseum's wall, midst the chief relics of almighty Rome. The trees which grew along the broken arches waved dark in the blue midnight, and the stars shone through the rents of ruin from afar. The watchdog bayed beyond the Tiber, and more near from out the Caesar's palace came the owl's long cry, and interruptedly of distant sentinels the fitful song, begun and died upon the gentle wind. Some cypresses beyond the time-worn breach appeared to skirt the horizon, yet they stood within a bow-shot where the Caesars dwelt, and dwell the tuneless birds of night, amidst a grove which springs through levelled battlements, and twines its roots with the imperial hearse. Ivy usurps the laurel's place of growth, but the gladiator's bloody circus stands, a noble wreck in ruinous perfection, while Caesar's chambers and the Augustan halls grovel on earth in indistinct decay. And thou didst shine, thou rolling moon, upon all this, and cast a wide and tender light, which softened down the hoar austerity of rugged desolation, and filled up, as 'twere anew, the gaps of centuries, leaving that beautiful which still was so, and making that which was not, till the place became religion, and the heart ran o'er with silent worship of the great of old, the dead but sceptred sovereigns who still rule our spirits from their urns. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. At Rome by W. Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Is this, Ye gods, the Capitolian hill? Yon petty steep, in truth, the fearful rock, Tarpeian named of yore, and keeping still? That name, a local phantom, proud to mock The traveller's expectation? Could our will Destroy the ideal power within, 'twere done. Thro' what men see and touch, slaves wandering on, Impelled by thirst of all but heaven taught skill. Full oft, our wish obtained, deeply we sigh, Yet not unrecompensed are they who learn From that depression, raised to mount on high With stronger wing, more clearly to discern Eternal things, and, if need be, defy Change, with a brow not insolent, though stern. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rome by Thomas Hardy. By Nemo. Rome, at the Pyramid of Cestius, near the graves of Shelley and Keats. Who, then, was Cestius, and what is he to me? Amid thick thoughts and memories multitudinous, one thought alone brings he. I can recall no word of anything he did. For me, he is a man who died, and was interred to leave a pyramid, whose purpose was expressed not with its first design, nor till, far down in time, beside it found their rest two countrymen of mine. Cestius in life, maybe, slew, breathed out threatening, I know not. This I know, in death all silently he does a rare thing. In beckoning pilgrim feet, with marble finger high, to where, by shadowy wall and history haunted street, those matchless singers lie. Say, then, he lived and died, that stones which bear his name should mark through time where two immortal shades abide. It is an ample fame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Valley and Villa of Horace by A.H. Clough. Read for LibriVox by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Tibur is beautiful too, and the orchard slopes, and the Anio, falling yet, to the ancient lyrical cadence. Tibur and Anio's tide, and the coal from Lucretia's ever, with the Digenan stream, and with the Bandusian fountain, folded in Sabine recesses, the valley and villa of Horace. So not seeing I sung, so seeing and listening say I. Here I sit by the stream as I gaze at the cell of the Sibyl. Here with Albuna's home and grove of Tiberinus beside me. Tibur beautiful is, and musical, O Tiburon. Dashing from mountains to plain, they parted impetuous waters, Tivoli's waters and rocks, and fair until Monte General. Haunt even yet, I must think, as I wander and gaze, of the shadows, faded and pale, yet immortal, of Faunus, the nymphs, and the Graces, fair in itself, and yet fairer with human completing creations, folded in Sabine recesses, the valley and the villa of Horace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Vallombrosa by W. Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Vallombrosa, I longed in thy shadiest wood To slumber, reclined on the moss-covered floor, To listen to Anio's precipitous flood, When the stillness of evening hath deepened its roar, To range through the temples of Paestum, to muse In Pompeii preserved by her burial in earth, On pictures to gaze where they drank in their hues, And murmur sweet songs on the ground of their birth. The beauty of Florence, the grandeur of Rome, Could I leave them unseen, and not yield to regret, With a hope, and no more, for a season to come, Which near may discharge the magnificent debt? Thou fortunate region, whose greatness inured Awoke to new life from its ashes and dust, Twice glorified fields! If in sadness I turned From your infinite marvels, the sadness was just. Vallombrosa, of thee I first heard in the page Of that holiest of bards, and the name for my mind Had a musical charm which the winter of age And the changes it brings had no power to unbind. And now, ye Miltonian shades, under you I repose, nor am forced from sweet fancy to part, While your leaves I behold and the works they will strew, And the realized vision is clasped to my heart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Paestum by S. Rogers. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. They stand between the mountains and the sea, awful memorials, but of whom we know not. The seaman, passing, gazes from the deck. The buffalo driver, in his shaggy cloak, Points to the work of magic, and moves on. Time was they stood along the crowded street, Temples of gods, and on their ample steps What various habits, various tongues beset The brazen gates for prayer and sacrifice. Time was perhaps the third was sought for justice, And here the accuser stood, and there the accused, And here the judges sat, and heard, and judged, All silent now, as in the ages past, Trodden under foot, and mingled dust with dust. How many centuries did the sun go round, From Mount Alburnus to the Tyrrhene sea, While, some spell rendered invisible, Or, if approached by him alone, Who saw as though he saw not, they remained As the darkness of a spectre, Waiting the appointed time. All within Proclaims that nature had resumed her right, And taken to herself what man renounced. No cornice, triglyph, or worn abacus, But with thick ivy hung, or branching fern, Iron brown o'erspread with brightest verdure. From my youth upward I have longed to tread This classic ground, and am I here at last, Wandering at will through the long porticos, And catching, as though some majestic grove, Now the blue ocean, and now chaos like Mountains and mountain gulfs, and halfway up Towns like the living rock from which they grew? A cloudy region, black and desolate, Where once a slave withstood a world in arms. The air is sweet with violets running wild, 'Mid broken friezes and falling capitals. Sweet as when Palie writing down his thoughts, These thoughts so precious and so lately lost, Turning to thee, divine philosophy, Ever at hand to calm his troubled soul, Sailed slowly by 2,000 years ago For Athens, when a ship, if northeast winds Blew from the Paestian gardens, slacked her course. On he moved along the level shore, These temples, in their splendor eminent,
'Mid arcs and obelisks and domes and towers, reflecting back the radiance of the west. Well might he dream of glory! Now, coiled up, the serpent sleeps within them, the she wolf suckles her young, and as alone I stand in this the nobler pile, the elements of earth and air its only floor and covering. How solemn is the stillness! Nothing stirs, save the shrill voiced cicala flitting around on the rough pediment to sit and sing, or the green lizard rushing through the grass, and up the fluted shaft with short quick spring, to vanish in the chinks that time has made. In such an hour as this, the sun's broad disk, seen as his setting and a flood of light, filling the courts of these old sanctuaries, gigantic shadows, broken and confused, athwart the innumerable columns flung. In such an hour he came, who saw and told, led by the mighty genius of the place. Walls of some capital city first appeared, half raised, half sunk, or scattered as in scorn. And what within them? But in the midst, these three in more than their original grandeur, and round about, no stone upon another, as if the spoiler had fallen back in fear, and turning left them to the elements. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Vesuvius by R.C. Trench. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Vesuvius, as seen from Capri. A wreath of light blue vapor, pure and rare, mounts, scarcely seen against the bluer sky. In quiet adoration, silently, till the faint currents of the upper air dislimit, and it forms dissolving there. The dome, as of a palace, hung on high over the mountain, underneath it lie vineyards, and bays, and cities white and fair. Might we not think this beauty would engage all living things unto one pure delight? O vain belief! For here our records tell Rome's understanding tyrant from men's sight hid, as within a guilty citadel, the shame of his dishonorable age. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Amalfi by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Amalfi. Sweet the memory is to me of a land beyond the sea, where the waves and mountains meet, where, amid her mulberry trees, sits Amalfi in the heat, bathing ever her white feet in the tideless summer seas, in the middle of the town. From its fountains in the hills, tumbling through the narrow gorge, the Canneto rushes down, turns the great wheels of the mills, lifts the hammers of the forge. 'Tis a stairway, not a street, that ascends the deep ravine, where the torrent leaps between rocky walls that almost meet. Toiling up from stair to stair, peasant girls their burdens bear, sunburnt daughters of the soil, stately figures, tall and straight. What inexorable fate dooms them to this life of toil? Lord of vineyards and of lands, far above the convent stands. On its terraced walk aloof leans a monk with folded hands, placid, satisfied, serene, looking down upon the scene over wall and red-tiled roof, wondering unto what good end all this toil and traffic tend, and why all men cannot be free from care and free from pain, and the sordid love of gain, and as indolent as he. Where are now the freighted barks from the marts of east and west? Where the knights in iron sarks, journeying to the Holy Land, glove of steel upon the hand, cross of crimson on the breast? Where the pomp of camp and court? Where the pilgrims with their prayers? Where the merchants with their wares, and their gallant brigantines sailing safely into port, chased by corsair Algerines? Vanished like a fleet of cloud, like a passing trumpet blast, are those splendors of the past, and the commerce and the crowd. Fathoms deep beneath the seas lie the ancient wharves and quays, swallowed by the engulfing waves. Silent streets and vacant halls, ruined roofs and towers and walls, hidden from all mortal eyes, deep the sunken city lies, even cities have their graves. This is an enchanted land, round the headlands far away sweeps the blue Salernian bay, with its sickle of white sand. Further still and furthermost, on the dim discovered coast, Paestum with its ruins lies, and its roses all in bloom seem to tinge the fatal skies of that lonely land of doom. On his terrace high in air nothing doth the good monk care for such worldly themes as these. From the garden just below little puffs of perfume blow, and a sound is in his ears of the murmur of the bees. In the shining chestnut trees nothing else he heeds or hears. All the landscape seems to swoon in the happy afternoon. Slowly o'er his senses creep the encroaching waves of sleep, and he sinks as sank the town, unresisting fathoms down, into caverns cool and deep. Walled about with drifts of snow, hearing the fierce north wind blow, seeing all the landscape white, and the river cased in ice, comes this memory of delight, comes this vision unto me, of a long-lost paradise, in the land beyond the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Viator by J.S. Fillmore. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Nowhere I sojourn, but I thence depart, leaving a little portion of my heart. Then daydreams make the heart's division good, with many a loved Italian solitude. As sons the whole year scattered here and there, gather at Christmas round their father's chair. Prodigal memories tenderly come home, suns Neapolitan, white noons at Rome. Watches that from the wrecked arena wall saw Alps and plain Denny, the sun in his fall, and rosy gold upon Verona tarry, O cloister castle that the high winds harry. Budding St. Benet's tower and doubling short, to whisper with the rosebush in the court. How sweet the frogs by reedy Mantuan merges cried in the broken moonlight round the barges. Where, glib decline of glass, the Minco's march flaws in a riot at the causeway arch. How Cava from grey wall and silence green echoes the humming voice of the ravine. The while a second spell the brain composes, fresh elder mixed with sun-dishevelled roses. How that first sunbeam on Assisi fell, to wake Saint Mary of the angels' bell, before the tides of noonday washed the pale mist bloom from off the purple's Umbrian veil. Multitudinous colonies of my love, but there's a single village dear above. Cities and scenes, a township of kind hearts. The quick boat laughs to and departs, burying his snow leaps in pools of green. My tower that climbs to see what can be seen, towards Three Crosses or high gold daisies, or where the great white highway southward blazes. My sloping barley plots, my hay field lawn, breathing heavy and sweet before the dawn, shows up her pillared bulwarks one by one, Cortina open hearted to the sun. Oft as the pilgrim spirit, most a wreck, dares poor dole here and now reject, the lust of larger things invades and fills the heart's homesickness for the hills, the hills. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Farewell to Italy by W. S. Landor. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I leave thee, beauteous Italy, no more, for the high terraces at eventide, to look supine into thy depths of sky, thy golden moon between the cliff and me, or thy dark spires of fretted cypresses, bordering the channel of the Milky Way. Free Soul and Valdarno must be dreams hereafter, and my own lost Affricio. Murmur to me but in the poet's song, I did believe, what have I not believed? Weary with age, but unoppressed by pain, to close in thy soft clime my quiet day, and rest my bones in the mimosa's shade. Hope, hope, few ever cherished thee so little. Few are the heads thou hast so rarely raised. But thou didst promise this, and all was well, for we are fond of thinking where to lie, when every pulse hath ceased, when the lone heart can lift no aspiration, reasoning, as if the sight were unimpaired by death, were unobstructed by the coffin lid, and the sun cheered corruption. Over all, the smiles of nature shed a potent charm, and light us to our chamber at the grave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Messina by J. H. Newman. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Why, wedded to the Lord, still yearns my heart towards these scenes of ancient heathen fame? Yet legend o'er and voice of bard that came, fixing my restless youth with its sweet art, and shades of power, and those who bore a part in the mad deeds that set the world in flame. So fret my memory here. Ah, is it blame that from my eyes the tear is fain to start? Nay, from no fount impure these drops arise. 'Tis but that sympathy from Adam's race, where in each brother's history reads its own. So let the cliffs and seas of this fair place be named man's tomb and splendid record stone. High hope, pride stained, the course without the prize. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Taormina by J. H. Newman. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. Say, hast thou tracked a traveller's round, nor visions met thee there? Thou couldst but marvel to have found this blighted world so fair, and feel an awe within thee rise, that sinful man should see glories far worthier seraphs' eyes than to be shared by thee. Store them in heart, thou shalt not faint mid coming pains and fears. And the third heaven once nerved a saint for 14 trial years. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Home Thoughts from the Sea by R. Browning. LibriVox.org. Nobly, nobly Cape St. Vincent to the northwest died away. Sunset ran, one glorious blood red reeking into Cadiz Bay. Bluish mid the burning water, full in face Trafalgar lay. In the dimmest northeast distance dawned Gibraltar grand and gray. Here and here did England help me. How can I help England? Say, whoso turns as I this evening turn to God to praise and pray, while Jove's planet rises yonder silent over Africa. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Gibraltar by R. C. Trench. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. England, we love thee better than we know, and this I learned when, after wanderings long, mid people of another stock and tongue, I heard again thy martial music blow, and saw thy gallant children to and fro pace, keeping ward at one of those huge gates, which like twin giants watch the Herculean straits. When first I came in sight of that brave show, it made the very heart within me dance, to think that thou thy proud foot shouldst advance forward so far into the mighty sea. Joy was it, and exultation to behold thine ancient standards rich in blazonry, a glorious picture by the wind unrolled. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Gibraltar by W. S. Blunt. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. 7 weeks of sea, and twice 7 days of storm upon the huge Atlantic, and once more we ride into still water and the calm of a sweet evening, screened by either shore of Spain and Barbary. Our toils are o'er, our exile is accomplished. Once again we look on Europe, mistress as of yore of the fair earth and of the hearts of men. Aye, this is the famed rock which Hercules and Goth and Moor bequeathed us. At this door England stands sentry, God, to hear the shrill sweet treble of her fifes upon the breeze, and at the summons of the rock's guns' roar to see her redcoats marching from the hill. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From the Scholar-Gypsy by M. Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Then fly our greetings, fly our speech and smiles, as some grave Tyrrhenian trader from the sea descried at sunset an emerging prow, lifting the cool-haired creepers stealthily, the fringes of a southward-facing brow, among the Aegean isles, and saw the merry Grecian coaster come, freighted with amber grapes and Chian wine, green bursting figs and tunnies steeped in brine, and knew the intruders on his ancient home,
The young, light-hearted masters of the waves,
and snatched his rudder and shook out more sail, and day and night held on indignantly o'er the blue midland waters with the gale, betwixt the Sirius and soft Sicily, to where the Atlantic raves, outside the western straits, and unbent sails. There, where down cloudy cliffs, through sheets of foam, shy traffickers, the dark Iberians come, and on the beach undid his corded veils. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Farewell to Malta by Lord Byron. By Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Adieu, ye joys of La Valette! Adieu, Sirocco, sun and sweat! Adieu, thou palace rarely entered! Adieu, ye mansions where I ventured! Adieu, ye cursed streets of stairs! How surely he who mounts you swears! Adieu, ye merchants often failing! Adieu, thou mob for ever railing! Adieu, ye packets without letters! Adieu, ye fools who ape your betters! Adieu, thou damped quarantine That gave me fever and the spleen! Adieu, that stage which makes us yawn, sirs! Adieu, his Excellency's dancers! Adieu to Peter whom no fault's in, But could not teach a colonel waltzing! Adieu, ye females fraught with graces! Adieu, red coats and redder faces! Adieu, the supercilious air Of all that strut and militaire! I go, but God knows when or why, To smoky towns and cloudy sky. Two things, the honest truth to say, As bad, but in a different way. Farewell to these, but not adieu, Triumphant sons of truest blue! While either Adriatic shore, And fallen chiefs, and fleets no more, And nightly smiles, and daily dinners, Proclaim you war and woman's winners, Pardon my muse, who's apt to prate is, And take my rhyme, because 'tis gratis. And now, O Malta, since thou'st got us, Thou little military hothouse, I'll not offend with words uncivil, And wish thee rudely at the devil, But only stare from out my casement, And ask, for what is such a place meant? Then in my solitary nook Return to scribbling or a book, Or take my physic while I'm able, 2 spoonfuls hourly by the label, Prefer my nightcap to my beaver, And bless the gods I've got a fever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Edward Lear on his travels in Greece by Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Illyrian woodlands, echoing falls Of water, sheets of summer glass, The long divine Penician pass, The vast Acroceraunian walls, Tamerlane, Athos, all things fair, With such a pencil, such a pen, You shadow forth to distant men. I read and felt that I was there. And trust me while I turn the page, And track you still on classic ground. I grew in gladness till I found My spirits in the golden age. For me the torrent ever poured, And glistened here and there alone. The broad-limbed gods at random thrown By fountain urns and naiads oared. A glimmering shoulder under gloom Of cavern pillars on the swell, The silver lily heaved and fell, And many a slope was rich in bloom. From him that on the mountain lea By dancing rivulets fed his flocks, To him who sat upon the rocks And fluted to the morning sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hellas by Sir Reynold Rod. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. It is not only that the sun Loves best these southern lands. It is not for the trophies won Of old by hero hands, That nature wreathed in softer smiles Was here the bride of art. A closer kinship claims these isles, The love land of the heart. It is because the poet's dream Still haunts each happy vale, That peopled every grove and stream To fit his fairy tale. There may be greener vales and hills, less bare to shelter man. But still they want the Maid rills, and miss the pipe of Pan. There may be other isles as fair, and summer seas as blue,
But then Odysseus touched not there.
nor Argo beached her crew. The Nereid haunted river shore, the fawn frequented dell, possess me with their magic more than sites where Caesars fell, and where the blooms of Zante blow their incense to the waves, when Ithaca dark headlands show the legendary caves, where in the deep of olive groves the summer hardly dies, where fair Phoenicia's sun-browned maids still keep their siren eyes, where Challis strains with loving lips towards the little bay, the strand that held the thousand ships of Aulis of Delay, where Otia ridge of granite bars the gate Thermopylae, where huge Orion crowned with stars looks down on Rhodope, where once Apollo tended flocks on Phaera's lofty plain, where Phoenix cleaves the stubborn rocks to find the outer main, where Argos and Mycenae sleep with all the buried wrong, and where Arcadian uplands keep the antique shepherd song. There is a spirit haunts the place all other lands must lack, a speaking voice, a living grace that beckons fancy back. Dear isles and sea indented shore, till songs be no more sung, the singers that have gone before will keep your lovers young, and men will hymn your haunted skies and seek your holy streams, until the soul of music dies and earth has done with dreams. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Violet Crown by Sir Reynold Rod. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Wherefore the city of the Violet Crown? One asked me as the April sun went down behind the shadows of the Persian's mound, the fretted crags of Salamis. Look round and see the question answered, for we were upon the summit of that battled square, the rock of ruin, in whose fallen shrine the world still worships what man made divine, the maiden fane that yet may boast the birth of half the immortalities of earth. The last rays light the portal, a gold wave runs up the columns to the architrave, lingers about the gable and is gone. Parnes, Hymettus, and Pentecolon show shadowy violet in the after rose. Citatheron's ridge and all the islands close, the mountains ring like sapphires o'er the sea, and from this circle's heart ethereally springs the white altar of the land's renown, a marble lily in a violet crown, and fairer crown had never queen than this, that grids thee round, far famed Acropolis. So of these isles, these mountains, and this sea, I wove a crown of song to dedicate to thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Athens by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Read for LibriVox.org by Eva Davis. Athens. The nodding promontories and blue isles, and cloud-like mountains, and dividuous waves of Greece, basked glorious in the open smiles of favoring heaven. From their enchanted caves, prophetic echoes flung dim melody on the unapprehensive wild. The vine, the corn, the olive wild, grew savage yet, to human use unreconciled. And like unfolded flowers beneath the sea, like the man's thought dark in the infant's brain, like aught that is, which wraps what is to be, Art's deathless streams lay veiled by many a vein of Parian stone. And yet, a speechless child, verse murmured, and philosophy did strain her lidless eyes for thee. When o'er the Aegean main Athens arose, a city such as vision builds from the purple crags and silver towers of battlemented cloud, as in derision of kingliest masonry. The ocean floors pave it, the evening sky pavilions it. Its portals are inhabited by thunder-zoned winds, each head within its cloudy wings with sunfire garlanded. A divine work. Athens, diviner yet, gleamed with its crest of columns on the will of man as on a mount of diamonds set. For thou wert, and thine all-creative skill peopled with forms that mock the eternal dead in marble immortality, that hill which was thine earliest throne and latest oracle. Within the surface of time's fleeting river its wrinkled image lies, as then it lay, immovably unquiet, and forever it trembles, but it cannot pass away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Parnassus by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Parnassus. O thou Parnassus, whom I now survey, not in the frenzy of a dreamer's eye, not in the fabled landscape of a lay, but soaring snow-clad through thy native sky, in the wild pomp of mountain majesty. What marvel if I thus essay to sing? The humblest of thy pilgrims passing by would gladly woo thine echoes with his string, though from thy heights no more one muse will have her wing. Oft have I dreamed of thee, whose glorious name who knows not man's divinest lore, and now I view thee, 'tis at last with shame that I in feeblest accents must adore. When I recount thy worshippers of yore, I tremble, and can only bend the knee, nor raise my voice, nor vainly dare to soar, but gaze beneath thy cloudy canopy, in silent joy, to think at last I look on thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Corinth by Lord Byron, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Many a vanished year and age, and tempest breath, and battle's rage have swept o'er Corinth, yet she stands, a fortress formed to Freedom's hands. The whirlwind's wrath, the earthquake's shock, have left untouched her hoary rock. The keystone of land, which still, though fallen, looks proudly on that hill, the landmark to the double tide, that purpling rolls on either side, as if their waters, chafed to meet, yet pause and crouch beneath her feet. But could the blood before her shed, since first Timoleon's brother bled, or baffled Persia's despot fled, arise from out the earth which drank the stream of slaughter as it sank, that sanguine ocean would o'erflow her isthmus idly spread below. Or could the bones of all the slain who perished there be piled again, that rival pyramid would rise, more mountain like through those clear skies than yon tower capped Acropolis, which seems the very clouds to kiss. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Carina to Tangra by W.S. Landor. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, B.C. From Athens. Tangra, I think not I forget thy beautifully storied streets. Be sure my memory bathes yet in clear Thermodon, and yet greets the blithe and liberal shepherd boy, whose sunny bosom swells with joy, when we accept his matted rushes, upheaved with sylvan fruit, away he bounds and blushes. A gift I promise, one I see, which thou with transport wilt receive, the only proper gift for thee, of which no mortal shall bereave, in later times thy mouldering walls, until the last old turret falls. A crown from Athens won, a crown no god can wear, beside Latona's son. There may be cities who refuse to their own child the honours due, and look ungently on the muse, but ever shall those cities rue the dry unyielding niggard breast, offering no nourishment, no rest, to that young head which soon shall rise, disdainfully in might and glory to the skies. Sweetly where caverned Dirus flows, do white-armed maidens chant my lay, flapping the while with laurel rose the honey-gathering tribes away, and sweetly, sweetly Attic tongues lisp your Corinna's early songs. To her with feet more graceful come the verses that have dwelt in kindred breasts at home. O let thy children lean aslant against the tender mother's knee, and gaze into her face, and want to know what magic there can be in words that urge some eyes to dance, while others as in holy trance look up to heaven. Be such my praise, why linger? I must haste, or lose the Delphic bays. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Wearing by R. Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. What's become of Waring, since he gave us all the slip? Choose land travel or seafaring, boots and chest or staff and scrip, rather than pace up and down any longer London town? Ichabod, Ichabod, the glory is departed, travels Waring east away, who of knowledge by hearsay reports a man upstarted somewhere as a god, hordes grown European-hearted, millions of the wild made tame on a sudden at his fame. In Vishuland what avatar, or who in Moscow toward the Tsar, with the demurest of footfalls over the Kremlin's pavement bright, with serpentine and cyanite steps with 5 other generals that simultaneously take snuff, for each to have pretext enough to kerchief-wise unfold his sash, which softness self is yet the snuff, to hold fast where a steel chain snaps, and leave the grand white neck no gash. Wearing in Moscow to these rough, cold northern natures born, perhaps, like the lamb-white maiden dear, from the circle of mute kings, unable to repass the tier. Each as his sceptre down he flings to Dian's fane at Tauriscia, where now a captive priestess she alway mingles her tender grave Hellenic speech with theirs, tuned to the hailstone-beaten beach, as pours some pigeon from the Muri lands, rapt by the whirl-blast to fierce Scythian strands, where breathe the swallows her melodious cry. Amid the barbarous twitter, in Russia, never. Spain were fitter. Most likely 'tis in Spain that we and Waring meet again, now while he turns down that cool narrow lane into the blackness out of grave Madrid. all fire and shine, abrupt as when there slid its stiff gold blazing pall from some black coffin lid. Where I last saw warring, how I'll turn to him who spoke. You saw warring, truth or joke, inland travel or seafaring? We were sailing by Trieste, where a day or two we harbored. A sunset was in the west, when looking over the vessel's side, one of our company espied a sudden speck to larboard, and as a sea duck flies and swims, at once so came the light craft up, with its sole lateen sail that trims and turns the water round its rims, dancing as round a sinking cup, and by us like a fish it curled, and drew itself up close beside, its great sail on the instant furled, and o'er its planks a shrill voice cried, a neck as bronzed as a Lascar's, "Buy wine of us, you English brig, or fruit, tobacco, and cigars? A pilot for you to Trieste? Without one, look you'll ne'er so big. They'll never let you up the bay. We natives should know best." I turned, and just those fellows' way. Our captain said, "The longshore thieves are laughing at us in their sleeves." In truth the boy leaned laughing back, and one half hidden by his side, under the furled sail, soon I spied, with great grass hat and kerchief black, who looked up with his kingly throat, said somewhat, while the other shook his hair back from his eyes to look their longest at us. Then the boat, I know not how, turned sharply round, laying her whole side on the sea, as a leaping fish does, from the lee into the weather cut somehow her sparkling path beneath our bow, and so went off, as with a bound, into the rosy and golden half of the sky to overtake the sun, and reach the shore like the sea calf, its singing cave. Yet I caught one glance ere away the boat quite passed, and neither time nor toil could mar those features. So I saw the last of warring. You, O never star, was lost here, but it rose afar. Look east, where whole new thousands are. In Vishnu-land, what avatar? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. On the Rhine by M. Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Vain is the effort to forget. Some day I shall be cold, I know, as is the eternal moonlit snow of the high Alps to which I go. But ah, not yet, not yet. Vain is the agony of grief. 'Tis true, indeed, an iron knot ties straightly up from mine thy lot, and were it snapped, thou lov'st me not. But is despair relief? A while let me with thought have done, and as this brimmed unwrinkled Rhine, and that far purple mountain line, lie sweetly in the look divine of the slow sinking sun, so let me lie, and calm as they, let beam upon my inward view those eyes of deep, soft, lucent hue, eyes too expressive to be blue, too lovely to be grey. All quiet, all things feel thy balm, those blue hills too, this river's flow, were restless once, but long ago. Tamed is their turbulent youthful glow, their joy is in their calm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Castled Crag of Drachenfels by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. The Castled Crag of Drachenfels. The castled crag of Drachenfels frowns o'er the wide and winding Rhine, whose breast of waters broadly swells between the banks which bear the vine, and hills all rich with blossomed trees, and fields which promise corn and wine, and scattered cities crowning these, whose far white walls along them shine, have strewed a scene which I should see with double joy wert thou with me. And peasant girls with deep blue eyes, and hands which offer early flowers, walk smiling o'er this paradise, above the frequent feudal towers. Through green leaves lift their walls of grey, and many a rock which steeply lowers, in noble arch and proud decay, looks o'er this vale of vintage bowers. But one thing want these banks of Rhine, thy gentle hand to clasp in mine. I send the lilies given to me, though long before thy hand they touch. I know that they must withered be, but yet reject them not as such. For I have cherished them as dear, because they yet may meet thine eye, and guide thy soul to mine even here, when thou behold'st them drooping nigh, and know'st them gathered by the Rhine, and offered from my heart to thine. The river nobly foams and flows, the charm of this enchanted ground, and all its thousand turns disclose some fresher beauty varying round. The haughtiest breast its wish might bound, through life to dwell delighted here, nor could on earth a spot be found to nature and to me so dear. Could thy dear eyes in following mine still sweeten more these banks of Rhine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Up the Rhine by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by RecordingPerson. Up the Rhine. Why, tourist, why, with passport have to do? Prithee stay at home and pass the port and sherry too. Why, tourist, why, embark for Rotterdam? Prithee stay at home and take thy Hollands in a dram. Why, tourist, why, to foreign climes repair? Prithee take thy German flute and breathe the German air. Why, tourist, why, the seven mountains view? Anyone at home can tint a hill with Prussian blue. Why, tourist, why, to old Colonia's walls? Sure to see a Rhenish dome, one needn't leave St. Paul's. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cologne by S. T. Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. In Colne, a town of monks and bones, and pavements fanged with murderous stones, and rags and hags and hideous wenches, I counted 72 stenches, all well defined and several stinks. Ye nymphs that reign o'er sewers and sinks, the river Rhine is well known, doth wash your city of Cologne. But tell me, nymphs, what power divine shall henceforth wash the river Rhine? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Pursuit of Letters by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by RecordingPerson. The Pursuit of Letters. The Germans for learning enjoy great repute, but the English make letters still more a pursuit. For a Cockney will go from the banks of the Thames to Cologne for an O, and to Nassau for M's. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From Dover to Munich by C.S. Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, B.C. Farewell, farewell! Before our prow leaps in white foam the noisy channel. A tourist cap is on my brow, my legs are cased in tourist flannel. Around me gasp the invalids, the quantity tonight is fearful. I take a brace or so of weeds, and feel, as yet, extremely cheerful. The night wears on, my thirst I quench with one imperial pint of porter, then drop upon a casual bench. The bench is short, but I am shorter. Place 'neath my head the haversack, which I have stored my little all in, and sleep, though moist about the back, serenely in an old tarpaulin. Bed at Ostend at 5 a.m. Breakfast at 6 and train 6:30. Tickets to Coinswinter. Mem. The seats objectionably dirty. And onward through those dreary flats we move with scanty space to sit on, flanked by stout girls with steeple hats and waists that paralyze a Briton, by many a tidy little town, where tidy little fraus sit knitting. The men's pursuits are lying down, smoking perennial pipes and spitting, and doze and excreate the heat, and wonder how far off Cologne is, and if we shall get aught to eat, till we get there, save raw Polonaise, until at last the grey old pile is seen, is past, and 3 hours later we're ordering steaks and talking vile mock German to an Austrian waiter. On the vessel steals, round go the paddle wheels, and now the tourist feels as he should, for king-like rolls the Rhine, and the scenery's divine, and the victuals and the wine rather good. From every crag will Passel rise up some hoar old castle, the hanging fir groves tassel every slope, and the vine her lithe arm stretches o'er peasants singing catches, and you'll make no end of sketches, I should hope. We've a nun here, called Therese, 2 couriers out of place, one Yankee with a face like a ferret's, and 3 youths in scarlet caps, drinking chocolate and schnapps, a diet which perhaps has its merits. And day again declines, in shadow sleep the vines, and the last ray through the pines feebly glows, and sinks behind yon ridge, and the usual evening midge is settling on the bridge of my nose, and keens the air and cold, and the sheep are in the fold, and night walks sable stoled through the trees, and on the silent river the floating starbeams quiver, and now the saints deliver us from fleas. Avenues of broad white houses, basking in the noontide glare, streets which foot of traveller shrinks from, as on hot plates shrinks the bear. Elsewhere lawns and vista gardens, statues white and cool arcades, where at eve the German warrior winks upon the German maids. Such is Munich, broad and stately, rich of hue and fair of form, but towards the end of August unequivocally warm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Nuremberg by H.W. Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, B.C. In the valley of the Pegnitz, where across broad meadow lands rise the blue Franconian mountains, Nuremberg, the ancient stands. Quaint old town of toil and traffic, quaint old town of art and song, memories haunt thy pointed gables, like the rooks that round them throng. Memories of the Middle Ages, when the emperors, rough and bold, had their dwelling in thy castle, time-defying, centuries old. And thy brave and thrifty burghers boasted, in their uncouth rhyme, that their great imperial city stretched its hand through every clime. In the courtyard of the castle, bound with many an iron band, stands the mighty linden planted by Queen Cunningood's hand. On the square the oriel window, where in old heroic days sat the poet Melchior singing Kaiser Macmillan's praise. Everywhere I see around me rise the wondrous world of art, fountains wrought with richest sculpture standing in the common mart. And above cathedral doorways, saints and bishops carved in stone, by a former age commissioned as apostles to our own. In the church of sainted Sebald sleeps enshrined his holy dust, and in bronze the 12 apostles guard from age to age their trust. In the church of sainted Lawrence stands a pyx of sculptured rare, like the foamy sheath of fountains rising through the painted air. Here when art was still religion, with a simple reverent heart, lived and labored Albrecht Dürer, the evangelist of art. Hence in silence and in sorrow, toiling still with busy hand, like an emigrant he wandered, seeking for the better land. Emigravit is the inscription on the tombstone where he lies. Dead he is not, but departed, for the artist never dies. Fairer seems the ancient city, and the sunshine seems more fair, that he once had trod its pavement, that he once had breathed its air. Through these streets so broad and stately, these obscure and dismal lanes, walked of yore the master singers, chanting rude poetic strains. From remote and sunless suburbs came they to the friendly guild, building nests in fame's great temple, as in spouts the swallows build. As the weaver plied the shuttle, wove he to the mystic rhyme, and the smith his iron measures hammered to the anvil's chime, thanking God whose boundless wisdom makes the flowers of poesy bloom, in the forge's dust and cinders, in the tissues of the loom. Here Hans Sachs, the cobbler poet, laureate of the gentle craft, wisest of the 12 wise masters, in huge folios sang and laughed. But his house is now an alehouse with a nicely sanded floor, and a garland in the window, and his face above the door, painted by some humble artist, as in Adam Pushman's song, as the old man grey and dove-light, with his great beard white and long. And at night the swart mechanic comes to drown his cark and care, quaffing ale from pewter tankards in the master's antique chair. Vanished is the ancient splendor, and before my dreamy eye wave these mingled shapes and figures like a faded tapestry. Not thy counsels, not thy Kaisers win for thee the world's regard, but thy painter Albrecht Dürer and Hans Sach thy cobbler bard. Thus, O Nuremberg, a wanderer from a region far away, as he paced thy streets and courtyards, sang in thought his careless lay, gathering from the pavement's crevice, as a floweret of the soil, the nobility of labor, the long pedigree of toil. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Aged Cities by Frederick William Faber. Read for LibriVox.org by William Demick. Aged Cities. I have known cities with the strong-armed Rhine clasping their mouldered quays in lordly sweep, and lingered where the Maine's low waters shine through Tyrian Frankfort, and been fain to weep mid the green cliffs where pale Mosella laves that Roman sepulchre, imperial Trave. Ghent boasts her street, and Bruges her moonlight square, and holy Mechlin, Rome of Flanders, stands like a queen mother on her spacious lands, and Antwerp shoots her glowing spire in air. Yet have I seen no place, by inland brook, hilltop or plain, or trim arcaded bowers, that carries age so nobly in its look, as Oxford with the sun upon her towers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bruges by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. The spirit of antiquity, enshrined in sumptuous buildings, vocal in sweet song, in picture, speaking with heroic tongue, and with devout solemnities entwined, mounts to the seat of grace within the mind. Hence forms that glide with swan-like ease along, hence motions, even amid the vulgar throng, to an harmonious decency confined, as if the streets were consecrated ground, the city one vast temple, dedicate to mutual respect in thought and deed, to leisure, to forbearances sedate, to social cares from jarring passions freed, a deeper peace than that in deserts found. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Belfry of Bruges by H. W. Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. In the marketplace of Bruges stands the belfry old and brown, thrice consumed and thrice rebuilded, still it watches o'er the town. As the summer morn was breaking, on that lofty tower I stood, and the world threw off the darkness like the weeds of widowhood, thick with towns and hamlets studded, and with streams and vapors grey, like a shield embossed with silver, round and vast the landscape lay. At my feet the city slumbered, from its chimneys here and there, wreaths of snow-white smoke ascending, vanished ghost-like into air. Not a sound rose from the city at that early morning hour, but I heard a heart of iron beating in the ancient tower. From the nest beneath the rafters sang the swallows wild and high, and the world beneath me sleeping seemed more distant than the sky. Then most musical and solemn, bringing back the olden times, with their strangely unearthly changes rang the melancholy chimes, like the psalms from some old cloister when the nuns sing in the choir, and the great bell tolled among them like the chanting of a friar. Visions of the days departed, shadowy phantoms filled my brain. They who live in history only seem to walk the earth again. All the foresters of Flanders, mighty Baldwin Bras de Fer, Lideric de Buch, and Cressy Philip, Guy de Dampierre, I beheld the pageant splendid that adorned these days of old. Stately dames like queens attended, knights who bore the fleece of gold, Lombard and Venetian merchants with deep-laden argosies, ministers from 20 nations, more than royal pomp and ease. I beheld proud Maximilian kneeling humbly on the ground. I beheld the gentle Mary hunting with her hawk and hound, and her lighted bridal chamber, where a duke slept with the queen, and the armed guard around them, and the sword unsheathed between. I beheld the Flemish weavers, with Namur and Juliers bold, marching homeward from the bloody battle of the spurs of gold. Saw the fight at Minnie Water, saw the White Hoods moving west, saw the great Artevelde victorious scale the golden dragon's nest. And again the whiskered Spaniard all the land with terror smote, and again the wild alarum sounded from the Toscan's throat, till the bell of Ghent responded o'er lagoon and dike of sand. I am Roland, I am Roland, there is victory in the land. Then the sound of drums aroused me, the awakened city's roar chased the phantoms I had summoned back into their graves once more. Hours had passed away like minutes, and before I was aware, lo, the shadow of the belfry crossed the sun-illuminated square. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Carillon by D. G. Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Antwerp and Bruges. At Antwerp there is a low wall, binding the city and a moat. Beneath that the wind keeps afloat. You pass the gates in a slow drawl of wheels. If it is warm at all, the Carillon will give you thought. I climbed the stair in Antwerp church. What time the urgent weight of sound at sunset seems to heave it round. Far up the Carillon did search, the wind and the birds came to perch. Far under where the gables wound, in Antwerp harbour on the Scheldt, I stood along a certain space of night, the mist was near my face. Deep on the flow was heard and felt. The Carillon kept pause and dwelt in music through the silent place. At Bruges when you leave the train, a singing numbness in your ears. The Carillon's first sound appears, only the inner moil again. A little minute though, your brain takes quiet and the whole sense hears. John Memmeling and John van Eyck hold state at Bruges, in sore shame. I scan the works that keep their name. The Carillon, which then did strike mine ears, was heard of theirs alike. It set me closer unto them. I climbed at Bruges all the flight the belfry has of ancient stone. For leagues I saw the east wind blown. The earth was grey, the sky was white. I stood so near upon the height that my flesh left the Carillon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Holland by Andrew Marvell. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Holland, that scarce deserves the name of land, as but the offscouring of the British sand, and so much earth as was contributed by English pilots when they heaved the lead, or what by the ocean's slow alluvion fell, of shipwrecked cockle and the mussel shell. This indigested vomit of the sea fell to the Dutch by just propriety. Glad then as miners who have found the ore, they with mad labour fished the land to shore, and dived as desperately for each piece of earth as if it had been of ambergris, collecting anxiously small loads of clay, less than what building swallows bear away, or than those pills which sordid beetles roll, transfusing into them their dunghill soul. How did they rivet with gigantic piles through the centre their new cached miles, and to the stake a struggling country bound, where barking waves still bait the forced ground, building their watery Babel far more high to reach the sea than those to scale the sky. Yet still his claim the injured ocean laid, and off at leapfrog o'er their steeples played, as if on purpose it on land had come to show them what's their mare librium. A daily deluge over them does boil, the earth and water play at level coil. The fish oft times the burgher dispossessed, and sat, not as meat, but as a guest. And oft the tritons and the sea nymphs saw whole shoals of Dutch served up for the Calamo, or as they over the new level ranged, for pickled herring changed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Hag by M. Pryor. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson. Vancouver, BC. While with labour assiduous do pleasure I mix, and in one day atone for the business of 6. In a little Dutch chaise, on a Saturday night, on my left hand my Horace, a nymph on my right. No memoirs to compose, and no postboy to move, that on Sunday may hinder the softness of love. For her neither visits, nor parties at tea, nor the long-winded cant of a dull refugee. This night and the next shall be hers, shall be mine. To good or ill fortune the third we resign. Thus scorning the world and superior to fate, I drive in my car in professional state. So with Phia through Athens Pisistratus rode. Men thought her Minerva, and him a new god. But why should I stories of Athens rehearse, where people knew love and were partial to verse, since none can with justice my pleasures oppose, in Holland half drowned in interest and prose? By Greece and past ages what need I be tried, when the Hague and the present are both on my side? And is it enough for the joys of the day to think what Anacreon or Sappho would say, when good Vandergoes and his provident vrouw, as they gaze on my triumph, do freely allow, that search all the Provence you'll find no man dar is, so blessed as the Englishen here secretary is. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rotterdam by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by RecordingPerson. Rotterdam. I gaze upon a city new and strange. Down many a watery vista my fancy takes a range. From side to side I saunter, and wonder where I am. And can you be in England, and I at Rotterdam? Before me lie dark waters, in broad canals and deep, whereon the silver moonbeams sleep restless in their sleep. A sort of vulgar Venice reminds me where I am. Yes, yes, you're in England, and I'm at Rotterdam. Tall houses with quaint gables, where frequent windows shine, and quays that lead to bridges, and trees in formal line, and masts of spicy vessels from distant Suriname, and tell me you're in England, and I'm in Rotterdam. Those sailors, how outlandish, the face and garb of each! They deal in foreign gestures, and use a foreign speech. A tongue not learned near Isis, or studied by the Cam, declares that you're in England, but I'm at Rotterdam. And now across a market, my doubtful way I trace, where stands a solemn statue, the genius of the place, and to the great Erasmus I offer my salam, who tells me you're in England, and I'm at Rotterdam. The coffee room is open, I mingle in its crowd, the dominoes are rattling, the hookers raise a cloud. A flavour none of Ferron's, that mingles with my dram, reminds me you're in England, but I'm in Rotterdam. Then here it goes, a bumper, the toast it shall be mine, in Schiedam or in sherry, Tokay or hook of Rhine. It well deserves the brightest, where sunbeam ever swam. The girl I love in England, I drink at Rotterdam. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Progress of Error by William Cowper. Read for LibriVox.org by William Demick. The Progress of Error. No plainer truth appears. Our most important are our earliest years. The mind, impressible and soft, with ease imbibes and copies what she hears and sees, and through life's labyrinth holds fast the clue that education gives her, false or true. Plants raised with tenderness are seldom strong. Man's cultish disposition asks the thong, and without discipline the favourite child, like a neglected forester, runs wild. But we, as if good qualities would grow spontaneous, take but little pains to sow. We give some Latin, and a smatch of Greek, teach him to fence and figure twice a week, and having done, we think, the best we can, praise his proficiency, and dub him man. From school to Cam or Isis, and thence home, and thence with all convenient speed to Rome, with reverend tutor, clad in habit lay, to tease for cash and quarrel with all day, with memorandum book for every town, and every post, and where the chaise broke down. His stock, a few French phrases got by heart. With much to learn, but nothing to impart, the youth, obedient to his sire's commands, sets off a wanderer into foreign lands. Surprised at all they meet, the gosling pair, with awkward gait, stretched neck, and silly stare, discover huge cathedrals, built with stone, and steeples towering high, much like our own, but show peculiar light by many a grin at popish practices observed within. Ere long, some bowing, smirking, smart abbé remarks two loiterers that have lost their way, and, being always primed with politesse, for men of their appearance and address, with much compassion undertakes the task to tell them more than they have wit to ask. Points to inscriptions, wheresoever they tread, such as, when legible, were never read, but, being cankered now and half worn out, craze antiquarian brains with endless doubt. Some heedless hero, or some Caesar shows, defective only in his Roman nose, exhibits elevations, drawings, plans, models of Herculanean pots and pans, and sells them medals, which, if neither rare nor ancient, will be so, preserved with care. Strange the recital, from whatever cause his great improvement and new lights he draws. The squire, once bashful, is shamefaced no more, but teems with powers he never felt before. Whether increased momentum, and the force with which from clime to clime he sped his course, as axles sometimes kindle as they go, chafed him, and brought dull nature to a glow, or whether clearer skies and softer air that make Italian flowers so sweet and fair, freshening his lazy spirits as he ran, unfolded genially, and spread the man. Returning, he proclaims by many a grace, by shrugs and strange contortions of his face, how much a dunce that has been sent to Rome excels a dunce that has been kept at home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Advice Against Travel by J.C. Mangan, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Traverse not the globe for lore. The sternest but the surest teacher is the heart. Studying that and that alone, thou learnest best and soonest whence and what thou art. Time, not travel, 'tis which gives us ready speech, experience, prudence, tact, and wit. Far more light the lamp that bideth steady than the wandering lantern doth emit. Moor, Chinese, Egyptian, Russian, Roman, tread one common downhill path of doom. Everywhere the names are man and woman, everywhere the old sad sins find room. Evil angels tempt us in all places. What but sands or snows hath earth to give? Dream not, friend, of deserts and oases, but look inwards and begin to live. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Had Cain Been Scott by John Cleveland, read for LibriVox.org by William Demick. Had Cain been Scott. Had Cain been Scott, God would have changed his doom, not forced him wander, but confined him home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Song of the Road by R.L. Stevenson, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The gauger walked with willing foot, and I, the gauger, played the flute. And what should Master Gauger play, but over the hills and far away? Whene'er I buckle on my pack, and foot it gaily in the track, O pleasant gauger, long since dead, I hear you fluting on ahead. You go with me the selfsame way, the selfsame air for me you play. For I do think, and so do you, it is the tune to travel to. For who would gravely set his face to go to this or t'other place? There's nothing under heaven so blue that's fairly worth the travelling to. On every hand the roads begin, and people walk with zeal therein. But whosoe'er the highways tend, be sure there's nothing at the end. Then follow you wherever high the travelling mountains of the sky, or let the streams in civil mode direct your choice upon a road. For one and all, or high or low, will lead you where you wish to go, and one and all go night and day o'er the hills and far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Poems on Travel, compiled by R. M. Leonard.